Cool.
Well, here's to the second.
Two.
Yeah,
Cheers.
number 2.
So
Cheers.
I got these organic espresso pods from Woolies, so we need to see if they're actually worth a buck.
The jury's out.
Is it good? It's a little bit better than the ones we had.
Yes, they are. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers. So today,
Yes.
I thought for something a little different, maybe a little less technical, not that the first one was necessarily technical, but let's maybe chat about what we would like retailers and clients that bring their watches or refer watches to us to actually know about the watches themselves. So, I mean, we're faced with so many different questions, queries, issues, complaints, and compliments and whatever throughout a particular season.
Yeah.
Whether that's from an authorized dealer or retailer versus just any customer that walks in through our door.
Right.
Maybe what's the first word, just one word, what's the first word that comes to mind when I say, what do you want them to know about the watches they bring in?
Well, the first thing they need to know, one word.
Yeah, one word.
Automatic.
Okay.
As in, you know, once. Okay, so a big, not problem, but as one buys a timepiece, when you're younger.
Yeah.
The timepiece works, and it can work for ages. And there's certain models, Rolexes, they can go for 20 years, and I've seen them with 20, 25 years without being serviced. And the automatic still does work, but it's limping on. Now the big problem is, as one gets older, you do not move as much. So at the 25 odd year mark, these older watches, whatever they are, come in for a service. We service them, and one of our things we make sure we do, if the automatic reverser wheels, we don't want to get too technical, but if they're wearing out, we replace them. So everything that wears on an automatic watch, we do replace during servicing. Then the customer gets the watch back, and I would say 90% of the time they have never heard they had to wind their watch.
Yeah,
so
we actually, that's, you know, you just asked me, what did we end the previous episode on? I don't think we ended it on it, but it was quite a substantial part where we were referring to this idea of moving to wind your watch.
Correct.
Well, obviously, in the case of an automatic, manually winding it when it's just a manual wound mechanical watch, not necessarily an automatic, although automatic you can wind as well. Right. And then we actually got a comment about those Seikos that, you know, you don't actually wind. I can't remember the model number now.
You shake them.
That's SJX something,
you
A6
can't
or whatever.
wind them. Yes.
You shake them into existence, and then I just said, well, then you really need to run a marathon, because I know you remember you said, you know, you need to really be running a marathon if you're putting the watch down for a few days.
Yes.
And it made me just think about, you know, that's a good point. But I don't think everyone thinks about this when they actually even buy a watch.
No.
Or even if you're buying a Rolex. So like a lot of people will go and they'll cash out, you know, in dollar terms, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, but in rands, you know, hundreds of thousands of rand.
Yeah.
On a timepiece, because it's got the little Rolex crown or little emblem on it. And they don't really know what they're buying. You know, they're either being sold into something, which, I mean, I guess that's what salespeople are there to do to some extent.
Right.
Well, nowadays you just get put on a waiting list for most items anyway. But I mean, just in a general sense, they buy something, they don't really know what all these terms mean. At least Rolex's models, apart from like Daytona's, which has got the chronograph function, they're actually not as complicated as some other watch brand models. Like, I mean, a brand like Breitling brings a lot more out in terms of models and complications and different movements they use. That's just the thing. But I mean, like a funny thing, I mentioned this to you just now, but I mean, the other day, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, lady walks in, and I mean, we get this often, but then it's actually because the watch needs it. But they walk in, they say, hi, can you just quickly fit a battery for me, please? Like, I just want a battery changed. I'm like, okay, sure. So, you know, your standard procedure, book the watch in, whatever. But now I take a look at this watch, and it says automatic on the dial.
Right.
Now you sort of think, how do you break this to the customer? It's not really a quartz, and it definitely doesn't have a battery.
Right.
And they're standing there sort of like, oh moment.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I said, well, look, this is, a battery's not going to fix this watch.
No.
It's either not being wound or the movement sort of stopped for some other reason, but we need to diagnose it, right? But I find it's insane. And this wasn't a piece of junk watch.
No.
This is like, the like we mentioned, Omega, Breitling, Rolex types. I can't remember if that was a JLC or something, but it was something that's like, it's a serious timepiece.
I think these older pieces as well, they limp along right until the end and then they die. And then the person automatically assumes it's a battery.
Yeah, especially if it's like an heirloom piece or something.
Correct.
That's just been in a safe
And
for
it's
like
just
the
been
past
limping on.
30 years or what have you.
Yes.
But I find it interesting though that even in that case, because I mean, this might just be biased because we work with watches, so like at least on a general level of understanding, we should know these things. But people just don't know the watches that they own.
You're right.
How do you solve it? It's easy. The word's knowledge, but and a bit of interest, but
correct. I think a lot of the nowadays with internet and what have you, that the people who are interested in the horological world know what watches that they have. It's the older generation and the people who are not really, they just want a timepiece. So whatever they picked up out of the cupboard or they've inherited or what have you, they wear, and they're not overly invested or interested in.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things. But coming back to that point, so once we've serviced a watch, it goes on a special winding test, and like on automatics, that we make sure that the power reserve of that watch is what it was when it came out of the factory.
Yeah.
And that's a biggie. So the parts that we replace and then the tests that we do, we know that on these machines, they wind it to the equivalent to 3 to 6 active hours a day, and we get full power reserve. The problem is when we do send it back to the shop, it's spent 2 days in postage, where, however, by the time it gets there, there is no power reserve, and the customer puts it on the wrist, and the day later it stops. So they put it on the wrist, and just their movement, the fact that it even starts beating when they pick it up means it is all free. And then, but if they don't manually wind it, the next day they put it down overnight, it's going to be dead. And so that's the one thing. And a lot of people say, well, I never had to wind it before.
yeah.
Well, number one, they were a lot younger. They did move a lot more. When we say active hours a day, it's not moving.
Not sitting at a desk.
It's not sitting at a desk.
Yeah, because even I myself, I mean, I wear the automatics and stuff
Right.
all the time,
Right.
but I'm sitting for most of the day.
Yes.
You know, out of my 8 to 14 or 12 or 10 hour day, it's
Yeah.
still like 90% of it sitting down
Right.
in front of a computer, you know? And
And I think a lot of people are a bit worried about it for the simple reason that, I mean, it's your watch. Wind it, play with it, set the time, get to know.
that's another thing.
Yeah.
People don't buy watches to wear them anymore.
No.
Or at least, okay, this is a blanket statement. But like, perfect example,
jewelry
yesterday,
piece.
we got in that they just adjust, was it the clasp or the bracelet? Take a link out. Take a
Yes.
link out of the bracelet.
Yes.
I get it. It had nice little diamond bezel and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the first thing that came to my mind when this person requested to take the link out and they have to watch everything you're doing like we don't know what we're doing, was just like, it's just a watch. And I know some people will be like, yeah, well, that watch I spent exactly like $20,000 on. It's not just a watch now. I think it's an investment. But it's like, yeah, but the whole idea behind that thing,
Right.
Rolex, as much as they still market for the marketing aspect and
Right.
selling for the marketing aspect, the core of the brand is still time.
Yes.
And it's still telling time through
Yeah.
timepieces and watches.
Yeah.
The first thing I just wanted to say to the person, just enjoy your watch.
Yeah.
Like, don't fret so much about it.
Yeah.
But then they take it personally, you know, you
Yes.
can't really
No,
do
you
that.
can't, you
But this
can't.
is the one thing I think, you know, because we're talking about what we would like clients and retailers to know. Maybe from my side, and this is not technical in any sense, this is purely just like subjectively viewing ownership of a watch or like how people see brand names as being the only things they should also buy, like Rolexes, Pateks, whatever, and they sort of just know that because that's what they see online. Firstly, if you're going to buy a watch, just buy the watch obviously if money's not an option or an issue, buy the watch that you've wanted to wear.
Yes.
You know, so it's like if I always loved a Speedmaster, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't just go and buy the Daytona because it's trending now.
No, and
you know, if you're buying it for the sake of enjoying the watch, so that you can wear it, not so much concerning like putting it away, and in 20 years from now, hopefully it's worth more than the gold value if you bought the 18K one.
Yeah.
You know, like actually just wear it. Buy the James Bond Speedmaster and say like, you know what, I've got Daniel Craig's watch.
Yes.
Or something cool, because it's like, otherwise it also just becomes pretty boring.
It's almost become emotional. You know? It has to be an emotional thing as well. So I think Breitling for me was, so I was born in 65. I mean, the space race was in 69.
Yeah,
so when I was old enough in the 70s to understand what watches all were, for some reason Breitling came up because they were one of the first sort of to leave our stratosphere. So I've always known that. So it has always, me and Breitling, it's always been an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And then, but other watch brands, people bring out certain mechanisms and they look absolutely stunning. I think my biggest thing is if I lived in Switzerland, I think I'll definitely be more invested financially in different timepieces because we've got so much more, and there is so much more access to it.
Well, actually, you know, true. In terms of after sales, I think that's a big thing because the factories are
all the factories.
In terms of like availability of second-hand stuff, the ideal place to really be is China. Think about it. There's just way more people.
Yes, I suppose.
So there's way more options
on the second-hand market.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're not interested in buying new from the actual factory itself, I mean, we're talking from a purist point of view. I also agree with you. Then Switzerland, that's the mecca of watchmaking. Right. But like just to get something,
and
get your hands on something.
And your independent people, the independent watchmakers.
Yeah, that's true. Because they don't. I mean, apart from the few German ones, most are Swiss.
Yep.
And most don't have very good representation globally, apart from the massive countries like the States or parts of Europe and the Middle East or what have you. But I mean, we were talking about this recently in South Africa. It's a lacking area of the watch industry. But I mean, we can get into that still in another time, maybe the independent watch brands that maybe need some attention in the lesser countries, if you want to put it that way, because I mean America has everything.
Yes.
The Middle East is getting there, but actually when I say Middle East, it's really just Dubai. And then Asia's got Japan and certain Asian markets, Singapore, Hong Kong, they've got good representation.
Right.
But I think that's the whole thing. But now, if we're going to tie that back, as you were saying now, you know, like the ideal would be to be in Switzerland, to own various watches, because you're right there, you can get your hands on basically anything. And you can service anything.
Right.
So you can actually start getting these complicated movements, and you don't have to worry about shipping it for half the price of the watch. Halfway across the globe to get it back again.
Yeah.
But now, how do you, I mean, that's just our ideals, but how do we actually try and get, apart from like, you know, what we even just trying and doing here is providing some form of educational platform in and amongst the conversation, how do we get retailers specifically? Because I think we've touched quite a bit on like clients, but retailers, and then more specifically the sales staff that actually deal with the products themselves.
I think the wonderful thing in the past, it sort of happened and it sort of died away from about 2019, where most of the manufacturers had their retailers in for after sales training. That was massive. And then a lot of the manufacturers have stopped doing that. I'm not quite sure why. I know some of them still take their retailers and they train them in their product. And it's really good to know the product. And without it, the actual salespeople in the retail stores, a lot of the times are flying blind. Their biggest problem though, and I did address this in Switzerland the last time I was over there, And the one thing I did get was there was such a big turnover of staff.
I was going to mention that. You don't see people stick around at a place for more than a few years, and that's a lot.
And for a manufacturer to invest the time and effort into that person, and then they get up and then leave for something else, it has become a very big problem, and it's a global problem, not just a South African problem.
It's this very sort of cliche Gen Z millennial thing where it's like, you know, people can't stick it out long enough in something anymore. And I think we even spoke about this yesterday. But
yes.
I mean, I'm from that generation, if not even after that. So I'm like in that millennial Gen Z shift, whereas, you know, Matt, who's my younger brother, he's like properly Gen Z. You know, they grew up with all the tech and everything, but they're not interested in these long-term views. And I don't necessarily see it as like a bad thing always, because it's just how the minds have been conditioned to work. It's all like instant gratification, instant solutions, instant money, instant food, instant everything.
Yes, yeah.
Something like that, like you were saying, retail training, sales staff training, sort of falls on deaf ears if the staff aren't of a certain age category or caliber of people, or people, firstly, maybe you get someone that's our age, but they're just really invested in the industry. But that's an anomaly. I don't think it's often.
And they're not brand committed.
No. So if the next guy offers a bigger package or a better deal,
then that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. So that causes a lack of actual product knowledge.
Right.
Because I mean, we also just get these kinds of queries coming from retailers where we wish we could sit down with them and just talk them through the watch that they're sending us. But I do feel like that's an area that needs to be addressed because of the brand's lack of knowledge.
On that note, so if for some reason a retailer needs me to discuss it with a client, exactly what's going on, in the store, they are really being hit hard by the customer. The moment I discuss it and the technical side comes out and exactly what we are actually doing, then there's no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
So once again, it is just lack of knowledge. And
it's like you're the antibiotic to the difficult client.
Right.
And I think the thing is, though, sales staff shouldn't necessarily be expected to know all the watchmaking terminology. I think firstly it's an unfair task.
Yeah.
Secondly, that's not what they're even doing as a career path or what have you. But what there should be is, like you were mentioning, you know, a few years ago, or like maybe a decade or so ago, where retailers or brands invested in retail training, like staff training, sales training.
Yes.
Maybe that's a push where if the brands aren't doing it themselves, us like after sales agents that work with these retailers should maybe be hosting these kinds of things.
I think we should be.
And I think we should be potentially reaching out, and maybe this is a platform for it if people have opinions on it, to actually comment and say, yes, we would love such a thing. Yes, do such an event. Please put it out live. Because, you know, as much as it's, I don't know if it's a shared thing globally, but like you were saying when you went in Switzerland, this is a problem. It's not just us.
No, it's not just us. And it's not just one brand. No,
it's not just one brand.
No.
And the thing is, that's why it's really not so much a case of finger pointing and name calling. Because
not at all.
It's not that. It's just a problem.
It is.
And it needs a solution. Because it's not like it's these multiplicity of different little things. It's really just a case of either people aren't interested. And that's the unfortunate part. I wish we could rather have a better vetting process than also in these authorized dealers or whatever for people working with the product to actually show some kind of interest. But also the thing is, you know, that initially it might be there, but it fades with time. Like anything, you know, there are monotonous parts to a job. And I think people start getting complacent. Then it's like, well, I'm not interested in selling the watch. Now, if you've got Rolex, for example, you sit there and most of the watches on...
It sold itself 4 years ago.
You've got a little logbook with details and you say, I'll contact you in 4 years from now.
That's not selling. It has sold itself. It's been, you're next on the list, telephone goes off, and it gets...
And the element of prestige is great for a month.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you're like, what do I do now?
Yep.
What am I selling?
Yep.
I'm selling contact details.
Yes. And that is
and the waiting list.
Yep.
And I think that's one of my peeves, not with Rolex, because I mean the brand itself's brilliant, just with that whole idea and that concept of, because I think, I don't want to overinflate the market either, because then it kills the kind of brand prestige or whatever.
Right.
But I just think, you know, sales staff maybe need to amongst themselves come up with tactics to improve the way that they come across to, firstly to clients as well, because I've seen this unfortunately where the sales staff really don't even sometimes try and sell the product to the people. That's the one issue I've seen. The other thing is they have no product to sell the person, like we just spoke about. And then the third issue is they want to make the sale, but they don't know how because they don't know the product.
Right.
And all three of those issues come down to really understanding what it is that they're selling. It's a watch.
And what is this other brand bringing new to the market? And if they're not trained on it, they can't sell it. So that is a real big. And the other, well, when we discussed this morning about what you would like your clients to know, I think a lot of people are shocked at the prices of our repairs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And we've seen a lot of pushback recently of prices. We are sort of, because we're authorized repair agents for certain brands, we have to charge the same amount as Switzerland, because then that watch is guaranteed around the world. It gets covered wherever you are under that guarantee.
And there's no bias.
No. Now the cost of bringing the equipment into South Africa, our spares,
that's monumental, because I think people forget that, and I've actually also tried to explain that. Sorry to jump in, but it's important to note, because think about it. You were saying, the access in Switzerland is massive to watches, and the factories there, whatever. Exactly, it's all right there.
It's all there.
Yeah, we are sitting literally,
and they don't pay for import
an 11,
of spares.
12-hour flight away from the factory.
Yeah.
We have to pay import duties.
Yes.
We pay taxes. There's VATs. There's this. There's that. There's customs. There's insurance. There's clearing agents. There's shipping company accounts.
Yeah.
And it's not just for the client to bear that cost. We actually bear most of it. And I think this is the problem that clients also don't understand. They see the few parts that are expensive, right?
Right.
And they don't understand the price of those things. But then all the other parts, there's so many built-in costs. I'm not even just talking about gaskets that generically get, or not generic, they get replaced as part of the service fee, right? I'm even talking about certain percentages of other parts that the clients do bear a cost of.
Right.
It still costs us a hell of a lot to bring it in.
Right, but okay, another thing, training. The amount of money that's invested into our watchmakers, you ship the person over to Switzerland, the accommodation, the training, the equipment, it all has to be Swiss. It can't be from the Far East, because they're very worried about the accuracy of such a thing. And
also longevity of it.
And the longevity of the machines. Just take lubrication. It is so expensive per milliliter of lubrication, because so little is used to set up a plant to make the lubrication. You wouldn't have a business.
So they have to try and make it lucrative.
You've got to try and make it lucrative, and the amount that they invest in. So all these things.
And research and development. I think people forget about the idea that, it's just movements that sort of get repeated and improved on.
Right.
Well, firstly, exactly. The fact that there's improvement on a existing or long-standing movement doesn't mean that there was no costs incurred in doing that.
Right.
It's not just copy and paste. It's not 3D printed.
No.
And as much as stuff gets made like that now, and there's a lot of machine and artificial intelligence, I'm sure, is coming to the factories as well now.
Oh, yeah.
And robotics and all these crazy things.
Right.
But none of that is cheap.
No.
And you commit to the idea, or at least you should commit to the idea of knowing that when you decide to buy that watch.
Right.
Because it's like, well, I understand that this is a massive industry. It's a massive business. The brand is big. It's expensive. But what people don't commit to, and I think I've even written about this whole thing, is people don't commit to the servicing cost. They commit to the once-off purchase.
Yes.
It's like buying a car and saying, I will never service that vehicle when I'm driving it.
Well,
good luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're going to be standing on the side of the road after 2-3 years.
Right.
Probably even sooner.
Right.
And I think this is the problem. And the older that car gets, like the older the watch gets, without any work being done, you're going to pick up on a lot more.
The more wear and tear, exactly.
More wear and tear.
Yeah.
Lubrication issues.
It's the same.
Same flipping
thing.
And I think this is the problem where people don't make that commitment. And what I would like clients to know is before they come in with requests, because we get lists and lists of them, is just try and understand the process, and try and mentally commit to the fact that, yes, sometimes a service is going to cost a lot. Why? There's parts involved. Firstly, we've got specialized staff. You know, you ask, well, why am I paying my lawyer or accountant the fees that they charge? Well, firstly, they put themselves through the education. They've worked to get there. They've built up experience. And okay, if you want to solve the problem yourself, go ahead. You own the rights to the watch now. You bought it. Good luck fixing it. You know? And this is the big issue. And I think people take that part for granted, or specifically the after sales part for granted, because they do not think about the maintenance or the buying to service the watch as well when they buy it initially.
And we have had recently now, I think in the last last year, we've had at least 2 people who honestly thought it was a lifetime guarantee on their product.
That's the other thing.
How on earth can anything carry a lifetime guarantee?
Nothing's got a lifetime guarantee. You don't have, a human does not have a lifetime guarantee. You know what I mean? So then how do you think a creation by a human's got a lifetime guarantee?
And just to put one small thing out there, I mean, just the balance on a normal watch, automatic watch or mechanical watch, it's the pivot that moves backwards and forwards with the balance beating like it does. It travels the point of that travels 15,000 miles in 3 years. Just going backwards and forwards. That is a lot of movement on one smear of oil.
And one moving part in that watch.
That's the one part of it.
And
I mean, if you're not servicing it, it wears out and it causes grief.
So, you know, maybe we can wrap this one up, but you know, we've addressed a few concerns when all of it sort of comes down to product knowledge, but then also understanding that everything's got a price tag, everything's got costs involved, everything's got hidden costs involved, and us as the service agents and even the retailers who the clients maybe give grief to sometimes, and then it comes back to us that way. We aren't responsible for the cost either.
No. That was being research and development for over years and years.
Even though we get the parts from Switzerland directly, we incur the cost of getting it here.
It's not for free.
I don't think people get that. It's not just like being sent on a little care package that drops out of the sky with a parachute, you know. This isn't World War II. This is like full-blown expense. It's not for free. Nothing is. Well, even those care packages weren't either. But you know what I'm saying? I think this concept, it's an anomaly to people who don't understand watches. But it's not when you really understand, okay, but this is sort of just part of the maintenance of anything, like anything else. Any last thoughts on this topic? We'll probably revisit this because as the year goes on, we'll get more queries and we can maybe do a part 2.
No, I think so as well. And I mean, as things come up, we'll sort of try and address them. But I think,
I think that's good. Great. Well, if everyone's enjoyed that and you want to see more, like, subscribe, leave comments. We want to chat to you guys because we actually want to address topics or queries you've got, because this is the whole point we're sitting here doing it. None of us necessarily always want to do this, but I think it's a nice outlet.
I think it's an important outlet.
It's an important outlet. I think that's the point. So we want your feedback, even if it's just to make a snarly remark. We invite those as
that's
well.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Because you know what? It gives us an idea of where things stand and what we can improve on. This is a casual venture for now, and we'll see what happens. But
we would like to get more into the technical side of things, which we will do as we go.
So requests is a big one for that, because we can try and maybe build, and we were speaking about this yesterday, series of certain things, maybe certain movement parts, certain types of movements. We can build like a 2-part or a 4-part series on, and we can release 20 minutes, half an hour videos
if there's a specific thing that somebody wants to know about the mechanics of a watch or internally in a watch and they want to see it, ask, and then we can organize to get that sort of.
Yeah, we can get that done. We can
Yeah.
do even like some kind of link up with watchmakers if they end up reaching out to have some Zoom, have some kind of live event, have something. Because I think it's a good thing to
It is.
encourage.
And just before we sort of close up as well, is our last chat was about why the Swiss watchmaking and Swiss watches are still so relevant. And the thing is, going on their training, when you go over to Switzerland, you become part of a, I'm going to say brotherhood, but it's not a brotherhood anymore. I mean, it's a humanhood, where you all get together, you all share this passion, the technical side of it, and I've got so many people that I can now reach out to in Switzerland, around the world, and it's a network.
That's
it's
the thing, and the network
brilliant.
is actually as big as it is. It's quite small.
Yep.
Because it's a very niche industry.
It is.
And it's also it's about reputation. And I think you build that up through the people you know, and not so much just by trying your luck as you go along.
Right.
Yeah, I think on that note,
good.
Let's call it a day.